the idea comes first most of the time. Sometimes, I'm inspired by an image and what I could do with that image. But most of the time, the idea comes first. I have like this big plastic, like huge tote filled with like cutout things that I think maybe someday I'll use.
In today's podcast, I talk with master collagist Erin Case. With more than a decade of work in collage, Case's pieces have been used for book covers, album art, and other commissions. Her current exhibition, Womanfolk, being hosted at the Saginaw Art Museum, is a retrospective collection paired with a new series of pieces that present femininity and its many forms over time. Erin, let's jump right in here. The work that we have in the museum right now is collage work. Where you're taking different pieces of paper and you're cutting them, pasting them together. Is collage something that you have been doing for a long time, or did you stumble upon it? Tell me a little bit more about how you got into collage work.
Sure. Well, I guess it's been a long time. I kind of messed around with collage work a little, like when I was like a very young teenager, just here and there, just playing around, but nothing like art focused, And then I was hosting shows like concerts a lot. And so I would use collage for flyers. And that kind of made me practice it more. And then I actually didn't really think of what I was doing as like an art in any way, just craft, I guess, and I had my first semester in college at SPSU, and there was this pop painting class taught by Mike Mosier, and I didn't meet the prerequisites to get in, but I really wanted to take that class, So I convinced him to let me in the class, and like the first day of like studio work in the class, he assigned us to make collages that we would then use for painting references. And like I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I went out to my car and got 20 books out of my trunk because I just had collage materials with me, and brought them in and made, I think it was 5 collages. And he at the end of the class for the critique of the collages, he just I don't know, he just validated me in a way that I didn't know I even needed. So he sat down the whole class and was showing my collages and being like, this is exactly what collage work should be, because it wasn't just I like oranges and eyeballs and, so here's a spread of my favorite things, which is kind of what a lot of people think of when they think of collage. They don't really think of a something with context and with a thought out composition, and and I just do. So but I never thought of it as art. I always thought of it as craft. So when he validated me in that way, I really started okay, this is actually an art. I can actually do this. And I think that was maybe 2012, I think.
What sort of drew you into collage initially? You had mentioned that you were working with concert posters and things like that.
Right.
Was there something about maybe the tactile nature of working with the materials, or the way you could manipulate them?
Pretty hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of making. I like using my hands. I don't know. I think just that it was kind of ready-made but not made. Mm-hmm. The found aspect of it, I suppose, was sort of what drew me in, is that I didn't have to spend 12 hours perfecting this drawing of a woman in a crouching position if I wanted to have a composition with a woman in a crouching position, that I could just like instead spend a few hours looking through magazines until I found an image that loosely fit what I had in my head. So it was kind of out of laziness, I guess.
or resourcefulness, depending on how you look at it, right?
Yeah, that's it. You're right, exactly.
Yeah. And when you were getting started, you jumped right into sort of the physical nature of collage versus manipulation with Photoshop or any other digital software. Is that correct?
No, I more so when I started doing collage as like an art, I did do a lot of like Photoshop collages. But I kind of struggle with digital collage as like even a term, because collage in nature is paper, glue by definition. So the term digital collage, I kind of take issue with. I don't know, but yeah, I did do a lot of digital artworks for a while there. I still sometimes do, like if I'm commissioned to do a piece, because it's difficult to find, the exact source materials with the exact scale and with the, like for things people want. So yeah, but generally I don't really do much digital artwork these days.
Yeah, well, it's sort of interesting to think how they're sort of each their own form, and you have to work with them differently.
Very much so. Like,
because you are dealing with sort of these found pieces and then making them your own, is there a particular type of material that you like to start with, or how has that changed as you've developed as an artist?
I don't think it's really changed a lot. Like, I work a lot with National Geographic, like vintage National Geographic magazines. I have like a ridiculous collection of them. So I work with a lot of that. And then I like to mix it with more contemporary material and with old, Life magazine adverts, or just, I like mixing materials, both contemporary and vintage.
Do you find it challenging sometimes if you have a particular vision, sort of finding the right piece or right picture that you want to go with that, or do you start with what you have and then develop the idea from there? Tell me a little bit more about what comes first, or is it a combination of both?
The idea comes first most of the time. Sometimes, I'm inspired by an image and what I could do with that image. But most of the time the idea comes first. Like I have like this big plastic, like huge tote filled with like cutout things that I think maybe someday I'll use. And like I have, another tote of like incomplete collages because I still haven't found the piece I'm looking for. Like some that are even 10 years old, like I think I can spend, 12 hours looking for a pink apple. I just need a pink apple. Why can't I, whatever, just like, and a lot of times, like I allow myself to kind of morph my original idea through like what is available. So like, as long as it has the same impact and the same meaning, then I can find something while I'm looking for one specific thing, and then find something that's not quite that, but actually still works. And sometimes that ends up being a better piece than what I was initially looking for.
And, you had mentioned that you have sort of some unfinished work or work that is in progress. Typically, how long does it take for you to sort of go soup to nuts and make a piece? Is there sort of a standard way of doing that, or is there really a good deal of variety before you decide, right, okay, I'm gonna glue it down?
Well, there's a big deal of variety, but not so much on whether I'm like deciding whether I want to glue it down or not, but just whether or not I'm going to work with this element that I found that's not quite exactly what I wanted. You know, like, am I going to work with this, or am I just going to keep looking? That's kind of the variety, but you know, I can get a collage done in 5 minutes if I find the right pieces right away, or it can take me 10 years if I never find the right piece. So it does really vary a lot.
There seems to be something of a sense of permanence about gluing things and gluing pieces of paper together. Tell me a little bit more about that part of the work that you're doing, and maybe how it influences your art and deciding, well, a piece is finished or not finished.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use generally I don't use a whole lot of different cut elements in my work. Like usually it's 2 or 3 different elements. So it's not really like I don't know. I don't really second guess it most of the time. Like if I find something and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm looking for, and I glue it together and it's like total crap, then I'll just like put it away. That happens, you know, like, okay, this is for my private, not to be looked at collection. I don't know. I don't really think about that, I guess.
Since you started thinking about collage less as craft and more as art, the show that we have currently deals with gender. Is that sort of a domain that you started thinking about when you started your art, collage art, or is that something that's evolved over time?
It's definitely something that's evolved over time. Like I've always been, you know, feminist in nature, but like very much when I first started working with collage as art, I was mostly focusing on like just catharsis for like my mental health issues. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I have a plethora of anxiety disorders that go along with that. And like, so it was kind of just my way of like getting out the things I'm feeling and the like experiences I'm experiencing as a person with these disorders, and like isolation and fear and whatever. And like I really started like working out my mental health issues. Like I started seeing a therapist, and like I actually got like a degree in psychology, like to kind of sort myself out. And like through that, I kind of like I realized that a lot of the like traumatic experiences in my life were born of me being a woman and like of like toxic masculinity and of just that sort of culture that thrives here. And so that started like informing my work more so than like my own personal like feelings of like isolation and such.
Yeah, it's almost as though you started off with sort of this art as therapy for yourself, and it continued to evolve from there, and so that others can understand the world as you describe it through your art.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. As you look towards the future, are there other art forms that you feel like you want to explore or are inclined towards beyond collage, or do you feel like collage is sort of it?
No. I mean, collage is definitely like my main mode of art, but you know, I dabble in other stuff. Like I do floral arranging in like a weird wood flowers and then painting them, and it's kind of like collaging with flowers, I guess, in a way. But like, so I'm like hustling small business on the side, trying to do that. But like also my partner, Neil Gravender, who is a great experimental video artist. He and I have these elaborate plans to make a community grotto. So we have like public art with concrete and found objects, and so it's kind of more sculptural, I suppose. But we have these very grand plans for this grotto sculpture environment that are in the works still. But so there's definitely like other mediums that I'm into.
If you were talking to a young artist who might be just starting out, what kind of recommendation or advice would you give them?
Oh, geez. I guess just like don't compare yourself to others. Just do what you do, and like everybody makes stuff that they don't like, and you don't have to share that. And that like definitely come from a place that you're saying something, I guess that's kind of the best advice I could have gotten when I was younger, is to like, because I was making collages before that pop painting class, but I never thought of it as like, this is my art, and I think kind of no matter what you do, what medium you'll work in, or how dedicated you are to it, or whatever, like it is your art and it is valid. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Well, it's fantastic to sort of hear that reflection and the ability to sort of just try and stay true to who you are, right? And have that come through in your art versus the perpetual chasing of what somebody else might value, or what somebody else might like.
Right. Like, I mean, if you think of like folk artists, who I'm very inspired by, especially with like the grotto plans of like, I have no idea how to like, I've played with concrete a little, but I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to play with it and learn how to use the medium, and then learn how to manipulate it into what I see fit for it, And I think that kind of mentality as an artist, like starting out, to just experiment and do, and don't worry about whether or not it's like perfect or if it's going to be received well. Just do it. Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, it's almost as though there's a, what I hear you describing is this period of trial and error, and the comfort of trialing and error to the point of understanding your own art. In the beginning of this conversation, you talked about how you start off with concert posters, and then there's a moment where you realize this is actually art. Like, I have something to say, and that's what I hear you saying.
Yep.
Well, Erin, I appreciate you chatting here today and giving us a little bit more background about yourself and your art. And we appreciate you sharing your talent with the community here in Saginaw, and look forward to seeing what other adventures are ahead for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Saginaw Art Museum podcast. You can stay connected with the museum through our website and social media channels. We invite you to become a subscriber of this podcast or become a monthly contributor to the show to help us carry out our mission of providing art for all.